Hey guys, hope you're off to a great Monday wherever you are. Amanda White, you asked for updates on all the craziness that's happening in the world. Don't worry, I got you. 3 things to know in 3 different parts of the world. First, let's go to Ukraine. President Zelensky seemed to signal perhaps an opening for peace talks when he said to a group of Russian journalists that he would be open to Ukraine having a neutral status, which would mean Ukraine would not pursue joining NATO, something that Russia doesn't want Ukraine to do. Now, there are some asterisks to all of this. President Zelensky has other things that he would like a face-to-face meeting with Vladimir Putin, but these remarks came again in front of Russian journalists for perhaps a Russian audience ahead of some more peace talks that are happening in Turkey on Tuesday between Russia and Ukraine. So the timing of these remarks matter and the substance as well. In the meantime, President Biden was overseas over the last couple of days, and in Poland, President Biden made some remarks about the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, that got a lot of attention.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Now, some interpreted this, for obvious reasons, that the U.S. is calling for the removal of Vladimir Putin, which has not been U.S. policy, overtly U.S. policy. And one of the big criticisms of the United States in general, Republicans and Democrats alike, this is bipartisan criticism from our critics and our adversaries, is that we are advocating for regime change. We're going around the world trying to remove people from power. And so certainly this comment didn't help that perception. This also gives Vladimir Putin some leeway to say, hey, listen, see, I told you the United States and the West, they're coming for me. I got to defend myself. So it has short-term implications as well. In the meantime, the U.S. Secretary of State is actually in Israel, and he's participating in a security summit with some really powerful Arab countries. And the fact that this summit is even happening in Israel is significant because in the past, some Muslim nations haven't actually wanted to recognize the Jewish state. So this is a sign of the changing relationships, the changing security environment in the Middle East. And on that note, on security, one of the things we've seen in the last week in Israel are 2 separate terrorist attacks that have been attributed to ISIS. We haven't talked about terrorist attacks in recent times. We haven't really talked about ISIS. Just want you to be aware that that happened and it's something to pay attention to. And finally to China. China's largest city, Shanghai, is going through these rolling shutdowns because of a rise in COVID-19 cases. Important with this headline, it's a rise in COVID-19 cases, but there are thousands of cases that are asymptomatic. They're doing a lot of testing and they have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to COVID. So they're shutting down the city in parts. This really matters because it is China's largest city, but also a major shipping port. So we should really watch what's happening in China as far as the pandemic, but also watch for further disruptions in our supply chain. Just a note, one infectious disease to watch here in the United States, I'm not talking about COVID, is actually avian flu, bird flu. Super contagious and deadly to birds, rarely impacts humans. Knock on wood, throw salt over your shoulder, do whatever you need to do. Rarely impacts humans. It can be deadly to birds. And it can impact chickens, eggs, things that we rely on at home. So just want to give you a heads up on that because we're already seeing rising prices and this could be another variable in all of that. Questions and comments, let me know. And as always, more on all these stories on smartnews.com. Have a great start to your week.